G'day, I'm Paul. One of the best, I guess, mixes between luxury and sportiness when it comes to SUVs has always been the Porsche Cayenne. Now this has been updated. It's kind of like a midlife update, but they have gone a little bit further than what they would typically do with a midlife update. And I think it's to buy themselves a little bit more time. You can see with the Macan, it's going full electric. They're selling internal combustion alongside it for a little bit longer. I think they're doing the same thing here, buying just a little bit more time before this eventually goes full electric as well. Now what they've done is very interesting because this one here is the Cayenne S, so it's about mid-spec, but they've ditched the V6 and gone back to a V8, so I'm very excited about that. Now this here is the coupe. It's priced at $190,000. If that is too expensive, the entire range kicks off at around 140 grand. This competes with things like the BMW X5, the Range Rover Sport, the Mercedes-Benz GLE. It's that type of thing, albeit keep in mind that stuff like Range Rover Sport isn't available in this sort of coupe shape. Today we're going to do a detailed review of this car, so if you do want to skip ahead to other parts of this review, you can use the time codes that are on the screen, or if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down and use the chapters below. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you can find out every single time we drive a new Cayenne. So let's talk about the exterior design, and we'll start off with the colours. So your optional colours start from $5,000. If you go to paint to sample, it's like $20,000. Now the issue that I've got with this is this car's built in Slovakia. It's built in the same plant they build the Touareg and also the Q7. Those cars' optional paint colours are less than half the price of this. So somehow when this goes down the line, it must get more premium paint or something like that. But anyway, so that is the price you've got to pay. Now in terms of the design itself, it is only a minor facelift in terms of what they've changed, but to me this has always been a really good looking car, and the refinements they've made now to this design has just made it one of the best looking SUVs on the market in my opinion. This car has a stack of options fitted to it as well, so I'll just point out some of those as we go. You can see the carbon highlights package here, big cooling on the front there on both sides. This is the same engine but in a different state of tune that you'll find in the Turbo GT that we reviewed a while back. So it is an absolute monster of an engine, and I'm so glad that this has made it back here to the S. It is funny though, if you step up to the Turbo, it's actually a hybrid, whereas this is just very much a big V8 engine with just a very mild hybrid setup. So I think that's pretty cool. You've got radar here for your cruise control. 360 camera comes standard, which is good news. Full LED headlights. You can option digital LED lights that add 32,000 pixels into the cluster. That is basically for very fine matrix LED functionality. So it is a cool setup, and certainly if you do long distance driving, you're out in the country a lot, you really want that type of lighting setup because it gives you a lot of projection. It replaces stuff like laser lights, which have now sort of gone out of fashion a little bit. Come around to the side. So here you're going to find an interesting setup. So these are the optional wheels. These are a set of 22-inch alloy wheels. Behind the wheels there, you've got a monster set of brakes, 6-piston caliper, 410mm rotor. It is a big set of brakes because it is a big car. It weighs over 2 tons and they need as much stopping power as possible. You've got more carbon over here as part of another optional package. Indicator built into their camera on the side there. Got privacy glass. You have a glass roof here in this vehicle too. Now around the back, so the coupe has that sort of cut down section, so a little bit different to the standard SUV version of this. This is also more expensive than the SUV version by around $10,000. So you're losing boot space, but it gives you the sort of coupe design. And also the Turbo GT, the top spec model, is only available as a coupe. So the most grunt you can get in terms of the V8 engine out of the standard SUV range is in the Cayenne S version of this. Everything above that is going to be in coupe trim if you do want to go for V8 variants. Spoiler up the top here, you've got this boot lip spoiler as well. This actually comes out when you get closer to 100 k's an hour, just give you a little bit of extra downforce. Now this has changed along the back here as well, so full LED light that runs along the back there, individual Porsche lettering here, Cayenne S there as well, quad exhaust pipes, more carbon down the bottom there. This is the best sounding exhaust I've heard on an SUV to date. It just gives me vibes of F-Pace SVR. It really has a throaty note to it. And the good part is that it's on all the time. You can sort of switch it on and off, but it actually sounds throaty without having to go into a sport mode. So that's what I really like about it. You don't need to be driving stupid for it to sound good. It just sounds good all the time. So let me know in the comments section below, do you think that this looks good in coupe trim? I'm personally more a fan of the standard SUV, but I'm keen for your feedback. Let me know in the comments section below. So we're inside the Cayenne. We'll start off with the key. Probably one of my favourite sort of quirky features of a Porsche. So you've got the Porsche logo up the top. Unlock, lock, boot, but it's in the shape of a car, so a really nice looking setup. It's a proximity sensing key, so you can leave that in your pocket. You've got a push button start just over here to fire everything up. Now, with the design, part of the thing that's changed here is the gear lever. That's gone and it's now integrated into the dashboard here, similar to what they've done on Taycan. So that gives you a bit more space in the center console here. And there are a couple of other sort of bits and pieces like this curved display here that's also from Taycan. I love this. Really high resolution, curved, and it just has this very nice futuristic look about it. So I think they've done a great job with that. Infotainment has also been updated now as well, which I'll run you through in a second. Plus this car has the optional passenger side infotainment that I'll show you in a second as well. But what about the rest of it? So I mentioned earlier that even though this is built in the same plant as a Q7 and Touareg, that the paint is more expensive here, and it goes for all the other options. Like this car is 190 grand out of the box, and look, if you want to spend money on a car like this, I'm not one to judge you. I don't really care, but the amount of options they have on this car is something like $70,000. In fact, I think I've got the sheet here. So that's the base price of the car, and then that's page 1 of the options. That's page 2 of the options. 267,150 is before your on-road costs. The problem I have with that is that it doesn't really feel like a car that's worth 300 grand on the road. Like if you put your leg up on some of these surfaces, they're creaking. This creaks as well when it's cold in the morning. The steering wheel has spots where it creaks as well when it's cold. I don't know, this doesn't feel like what the Cayenne used to be like, which was really robust, high quality, and built really well. So now that they've jacked the price up of this so much and have an incredible list of options like that, and a lot of the stuff is just colours, and you can see the green sort of interior in this car, but I just think that perhaps a bit more focus on build quality and making sure that this feels sturdier than it actually does, I think wouldn't go astray. But anyway, that's my quick bitch and moan over for a second. What about your touch points? So thankfully the rest of these surfaces are all quite nice. So you can see that green leather extends here, and on the dashboard there, plus on the seats. This is sort of firm but soft to the touch. Same story here on the door. We have tested the main surfaces in this cabin. If you do want to see how this car compares to others that we've tested before, have a look at the link in the description below. Just a quick shout out to our mates at Industry Scientific. They have calibrated our gyrometer for us, so it is now very accurate. So that's definitely good news. And this is where we do our build quality test. But like I mentioned before, it sort of feels sturdy, which is great, but you can just hear the creaking and stuff, which I just don't love for a car like this. This is what the door sounds like. Now let's talk about infotainment, and we'll start off here with the central infotainment screen. So this is the latest version of Porsche's infotainment system. It's actually quite cool because they've shown what this will look like in the future when this is an Apple connected vehicle, and there's basically an array of screens that run all the way along, and it's all controlled there through that OS, which I think is really cool because ultimately car makers just need to stick to making cars, and then you leave your tech to tech companies. It all sort of makes perfect sense. So you've got inbuilt satellite navigation in here, which means you don't have to have a smartphone mirrored to use your navigation, which is good news. You've also got the ability to play AM, FM, DAB, digital, and also internet radio stations as well, along with all of the stuff that's connected to your phone too. So there's plenty of stuff there to play with, which is really cool. You also have a 14-speaker Bose branded sound system. Sound system is good, but not amazing. You've also got then sub-menus for everything else. So Sport Chrono, for example, that is the optional Sport Chrono package that's fitted to the car. This one has the Porsche design set up on it, so you can activate that through here if you want to. It also has event logging as well, so if you are at the track, you can record all of that stuff as you go, which is pretty cool. In addition to that, you've also got the ability to update over the air, play video through here as well. You've got weather and other sort of bits and pieces, and remote connected services too. So pretty decent setup. You've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. I'll show you what that looks like. So I mentioned before, this is wireless. This is actually meant to have, and it doesn't look like it's been released yet, but some features that allow you to actually have a bit more control over the vehicle itself via CarPlay. So you don't actually need to leave this to activate those features. So I'll show you what it looks like up on the screen there so you can get a bit of a vibe for it, but that will be coming here as part of a software update, which is pretty cool. And this is what Android Auto looks like. So wireless again there, full screen integration. Nice and quick too, which is good to see. Now, I forgot to mention as well, this is a 12.3-inch display. Screen ahead of the driver is a 12.6-inch curved display. Now, with this display here, you can actually go through a number of different designs for that center section, and yeah, they're actually pretty cool. So they've done a good job there with making this look nice and futuristic, which you know, they've come from vehicles that had analog gauges and all that sort of stuff, whereas now you can really just cycle through and get some fantastic stuff on the screen there. Driver's side display is slightly smaller, just under 11 inches. I probably wouldn't waste money on this. This is several $1,000s. I think it is a fairly redundant feature and just is something that is likely to break one day. Not saying it will, but I just wouldn't waste money on that. I don't know what the purpose of it is exactly. Now, in terms of safety tech, you've got autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian detection. You've also got blind spot monitoring built into the wing mirror there. You've got an auto-dimming rear vision mirror. Now, this car is fitted with an optional package that has a lane keeping assistant. So I'll be keen to test that out a little bit later on to see how it goes. You've got front and rear parking sensors and a 360 camera. I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to kick this on so we can have a little look. This into reverse. How good does that sound? So yeah, look, camera's good, not sort of tremendous, but it's fine. You can see sort of what's on the suitcase there. And then you can select different camera angles as well. So there's a fair bit there to look at, which is good to see. Yes, look, it's not a terrible setup. And there you go, that's a slightly closer look as well. So you can make out what's on the suitcase pretty easily. Then you have the ability to also clean the rear camera too. And turn this off. This is what the horn sounds like. Moving on to practicality, and we'll start off with your connectivity. So behind this little cubby hole here, you've got two USB-C ports. You've also got a 12-volt outlet down here. There's a wireless phone charger there as well. In terms of storing your stuff, so little coffee cup can fit in there, although it is quite a deep hole, so you kind of need to prop it up with stuff, otherwise it sort of gets lost in there. Let's see if our big bottle fits in the door. Yes, it does. Fantastic. Other storage, you've got this center console here that's sort of pretty small, not exactly the biggest thing. It also slides forward, but a bit of a design flaw. If you've got a passenger in the car and you're both leaning on this, it takes so little effort for it to slide forward, so you're constantly having to move it back. So they haven't really thought very long and hard about that, because I think that needs a bit of a redesign. And down here, you've got yourself a pretty reasonably sized glove box as well. Now, what about your comfort? So you have dual zone automatic climate control. It's all driven down here on this thing. This typically works really well, but when the sun hits it, it completely blinds you, and you got to sort of shade your eyes from it. So yeah, it's just another thing that hasn't really been designed all that well. But I do like the sort of general concept of it. I think that is pretty cool. This car's optioned with the 4-zone climate control as well. You've got heated seats here. Cooled seats are optional. Heated steering wheel as well, with a little button hidden under there. Steering wheel, strangely, for a $300,000 car, is manually adjustable, so it offers both tilt and reach adjustment. This car also has the optional 18-way power adjusted seats as well, so you can go forwards, backwards. Your backrest can go forwards, backwards. You can adjust your lumbar support, you can adjust the seat base, and you can also adjust the bolsters on the side as well. You've also got 3 memory slots there for the driver and your passenger as well. And on our reach test, most of that is easy to reach while you're driving. Now, second row, what does it look like here? So knee room is pretty good, toe room is good, headroom is actually pretty good as well, despite the fact this is coupe-like. Back here you're going to find the same not very good build quality and creakiness, which is crazy. You've got your other 2 zones of climate control down here. You've got air vents here as well, along with in the pillar there too. 12-volt outlet and 2 USB-C ports. You've got map pockets in the back of the seats. It also has center armrest here with 3 little cup holders there. You've got ISOFIX points on your outboard seats with 3 top tether points as well. On our window test, that's auto up and down. Oh, not quite. Now, let's look at cargo space. So you have almost 600 litres available here, just in this sort of standard trim. It is around sort of 150, 200 litres less than you get in the standard SUV version. So you will notice a compromise there. Under the cargo floor, you've got a space saver spare, so that pops out once you inflate it. A little subwoofer there as well. 12-volt outlet just off to the side. You also have height adjustable suspension, not only around the car, but for the rear. So you can just push and hold that button, and will drop the rear of the vehicle to make access a little bit easier. Show you what it looks like with the bags in there. There it is there. So there is still enough space. It's just that sort of vertical load height that is slightly compromised there. And then I'll show you what it looks like with the second row folded. Once you fold the second row, it expands the space to a little under 1,500 litres. Okay, so we've just hit the road in the Cayenne S. Listen to that glorious sound. That is the sound of 8 cylinders of fury. I'm so glad they ditched the V6 to go back to a V8. It is exactly what this car is about and what it should have been to start with. And this is such a good engine too. The 4-litre V8 that's under the bonnet of this. They use this across so many cars in the Volkswagen group, and it has become one of my favourite engines. It is such a versatile engine that really goes to town on making noise and power. It's such a good thing. So it produces 349 kilowatts of power and 600 newton meters of torque, and it's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission. No dual clutches here, just normal automatic transmission. That's also what I love about it. So there's no fussiness, it's not sort of jerking in and out, it is just a very smooth transmission linked to a very smooth engine as well. Now, how does all that feel behind the wheels? So let's give it a little kick here. It feels good and it sounds amazing as well. Like it's just an absolute weapon of a thing. Now let's talk fuel economy. So 12.3 litres per 100 Ks is the claim. That is pretty high for an official claim. So we're currently on 13.6, which is the long-term average. I say this with a lot of these cars, you're not buying this thinking it's going to be overly efficient, and I'm just kind of glad they didn't hold back on noise or power to make this efficient. They've just said, you want a V8? Here's the V8, it will use a lot of fuel, and that is what you have to be happy with. Now, it is worth keeping in mind as well when we go for a bit of a faster drive. This weighs almost 2.2 tonnes, so it is a big vehicle, and I think that is ultimately going to affect the handling. The fact that this is just a facelift and they haven't really gone to town much on weight reduction kind of tells me that it is probably a bit of a stopgap until they roll out an electric version of this. So yeah, it's an interesting move, and we'll see whether it has actually affected the way that it performs once we actually get up it. Now let's talk about the ride. So this uses adaptive damping and air suspension. The ride is okay. Like it's not amazing and it's not terrible. So it's riding on 22. So it is a very big wheel on fairly chubby tyre as well. So they're trying to do as much as they can here in terms of making it ride okay. But for the most part, in and around town, it's fairly comfortable. This car is also fitted with Porsche dynamic chassis control. So that is basically an anti-roll mechanism that's able to actively adjust as you're turning in, prevents body roll, and it's meant to give this a much tauter ride. So we'll see what that's like when we actually go for a bit of a fang. Okay, so let's get up to 130 here in comfort mode and see what it's like across our sine waves. So maximum speed limit in Australia, and just gives us a good idea of what this is like if you hit consecutive set of bumps on a country road. All right, so there's 130 there. It's actually not too bad. So it does feel a little bit floaty, but it feels controlled. So it feels like they've done enough there to actually smooth out the ride and make it sort of comfortable enough. Now let's talk about road noise. It's actually not a bad place to be seated on the highway. You get a bit of tyre noise, but it's fairly quiet inside the cabin. This is how it went up against our calibrated sound meter. If you do want to see how this car compared to others that we have tested before, there's a link in the description below. So what's visibility like? Look, it is a big SUV, but I can see clearly down the front of the car there. Wing mirrors are pretty reasonably sized with that blind spot monitor built into them. Visibility out the back isn't amazing though. It's quite a sort of narrow window, which I think would be better in the standard SUV. I like this button too, so sport response button. You press that, gives you 20 seconds of maximum power and noise. It's just a really good feature. It's easy to access if you need it. You just grab it and away you go. All right, drive modes. You've got off-road, normal, sport, sport plus. Let's go to sport plus and go for a fang around the track. Put it into ESC sport mode as well. Gee, the brakes feel fantastic. All right, tip this in. Oh, it is absolutely hauling here for a big car. Sounds unreal as well. It does feel heavy though. I am absolutely feeling every single kilo of this. When you tip it in, it actually stays remarkably flat thanks to that anti-roll mechanism. Good steering feel as well. Just surprised how good these brakes are. They really are very bitey. And this is a very eager and keen engine as well. You're able to get on it mid-corner, roll onto the throttle, and he's ready to pounce. He's out back straight. Oh, that is unreal. Wow. For such a big car, that is moving, absolutely moving. So, yeah, bloody impressed with that. That's not too bad at all. All right, so I've dialed it back into our normal mode here. I'll dial the speed up to 90 k's an hour, which is what we do a bumpy stretch of road at. And we've got our high frequency sine wave here as well. Yeah, see right there, it's basically as the tyre falls into the divots, it's trying to sort itself out and it's hitting the peak of the next bump. So you'll find that in situations where you've got corrugations and stuff, it's really going to struggle to figure out what to do with itself pretty quickly. So that is one of the downsides of such a sort of complex vehicle like this. But yeah, look, I'm genuinely surprised at how well it handles. Like, you tip it in and it really just hooks up nicely. For such a big vehicle, it is holding on really well. So you're going to reach the limits of mechanical grip pretty quickly, but if you stay on top of that, it is just missile quick. Now let's test out the semi-autonomous functions here. We do this at 70 k's an hour on the 3 outer lanes of the bowl to see how well it works. All right, there is 70 k's an hour there. Let's see how well this works. This is quite interesting. It's not actually self-steering. All it does is just bounce you back in the lane if you nudge the line. Not exactly an amazing system, given you could buy a, base Kia or Hyundai that does this sort of stuff. So that's pretty disappointing, actually. Yeah, maybe I'm missing something here. I'll triple check that, but yeah, it's kind of odd that it doesn't actually have that function. So there you go. Let's get down to business, a bit of performance testing. I want to tell you about CarExpert.com.au. That's our website. We've got like 60 full-time employees now, growing very quickly. On our site, if you don't know what car you want, we actually have a car chooser. So you just put in all your details in terms of the size of the car and it will spit out some options for you. We can then hook you up with one of our accredited dealers as well to help you get the best deal as well. Just go to CarExpert.com.au or Google Help Me Car Expert. Now, I'm going to whack this over into Sport Plus mode. The ride is lowering a little bit there. So official 0 to 100 time is 4.7 seconds, but this actually has launch control, and it's an interesting one. It's similar to the way that BMW uses their launch control system on a torque converter. So you just build up boost. Once it's built up, you sort of fire out of the box there and away you go. Okay, here we go. So you'll see it come up here saying launch control ready. So oh man. That is bloody quick. Far out. It just slingshots off the line there. That is seriously good. All right, let's see how we went there. So 0 to 100, 4.56 seconds. That is bloody impressive. For such a big vehicle, it is slingshotting out of there like you wouldn't believe. 80 to 120 in 3.06 seconds as well. So that in itself is quick too. Can't go wrong with a V8. Keep telling you. Okay, so I'll dial up 100 k's an hour for our stop. There's a lot of tyre here, so I suspect it should pull up pretty nicely. Very nice. Okay, so 100 to 0, 2.76 seconds, 36.04 meters. That is seriously good. That is seriously good. So yeah, despite its heft, it is actually very, very sharp at stopping quickly. So good one, Porsche. Now, how quickly does it go in reverse? Question you've been asking, no doubt. Here we go. Oh, that felt like it was going to really move there. So 44 kilometers an hour. Now, the Porsche Cayenne, what do we reckon? Look, I think it's a SUV that's been saved by the V8 engine, and I say that because the build quality is disappointing. If I was spending that kind of money on this, I would genuinely be disappointed with the vehicle that I'm getting in terms of the way this has been delivered. This is really the only Cayenne I've personally driven. I'm hoping they're not all like this, and if you have bought one of these, let me know in the comments section below, what is it like? If you do put the build quality issues to one side, it is a fantastic vehicle to drive, and that V8 is an engine that I wish could live on forever. I know that it probably won't with electric and all that sort of stuff that's coming, but it is pinnacle of awesomeness. The exhaust sounds great, that optional sports exhaust, it is so good. If you are buying one of these with the V8, please make sure you option that sports exhaust. It is just transformative in terms of the way that it sounds. And then in terms of the handling, I mean, it is a big vehicle, but it doesn't feel big behind the wheel. They've really been able to dial in that handling without massively compromising the comfort. So let me know what you reckon. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you think they need to improve their build quality? Do you think they're asking too much money? Let me know what you reckon. Now, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon as well. But until next time, take it easy.